Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Slime, returning from the dead to talk about Longlegs, the horror film of the summer. I'm joined by
Diego.
as usual, and today we just want to jump right into it and discuss this creepy horror slash thriller starring Nicolas Cage as Longlegs himself. Now, Diego, this was a big ad campaign for this film. And it was pitched as a horror film, and I'm a horror fan myself. So coming out of this, I didn't really think it was that much of a horror film, and I wanted to ask you about that.
I would call it a horror film.
Yeah,
100%. I will agree with you that the marketing was probably overhyped and it definitely wasn't as scary as it was as we were initially led to believe. But I do think this movie is scary in a certain way, in the sense that it makes you think it's going to be scarier long enough throughout the whole movie that you're like on edge throughout most of the runtime. It just builds tension really well. A lot of the shots are very like wide, and you're always kind of focusing on the background and its use of sound and music. It's kind of just always keeping you on edge, thinking it's building to something. As the film goes on, I find my investment goes away and I'm not
me too, kind
it's
of.
as enthusiastic about it. But I would call it a horror movie on a very flawed system.
It to me personally, it definitely started scary and only got less scary as the movie went on. I guess you probably could find that theme in other horror films as well, but I more so thought this kind of fell into the detective cop thriller. Because this movie kind of was a chase, searching for Longlegs, and it don't get me wrong, there were a lot of really scary moments where it made me jump, and Nicolas Cage gives a stellar performance we'll talk about, but it was creepy and it was scary, but there was so much police drama, kinda that I didn't really expect. I don't know if the ads really portrayed that a ton. I don't think they did.
They didn't portray how much of a crime drama it was
Yeah.
going to be. I'll give you that. And there's a lot of investigation scenes that could have been cut down, or some of them full on replaced. But again, to kind of go back to what I was saying about how it sort of tricks you that it's going to be scarier, there's scenes where the detective, she is investigating the case in her house, and there's sounds playing in the background. It's kind of implying that a scare is coming or something's going on.
Yeah.
And you're a bigger horror fan than I am, so that might have something to do with it. But I really don't do well with the building of tension. So to
Yeah.
me, that already makes it like, oh, this is a bit
Yeah.
creepy to sit through. So in that respect, that's what I would say I found scary. But I would say if it's more of a case of its bark was bigger than its bite.
Yeah. You know, when it comes to horror films for me, and what I think scares me the most in horror films, and I assume most other people too, is the unknown. What you don't know. That's what scares you. And in particular, the first scene where it shows a lot of the character Longlegs, but not a lot of the face.
That's the best scene. In the whole
Exactly. And it's probably one of the most scary scenes as well. And I just wish they kept that. I just wish they kept the magic of that first scene, more throughout the whole film, because wow, that was such an unsettling, creepy scene. It was great. It gave us great context too as to the story that's about to unfold. But yeah, like I said, from that point on, I only got less and less scared, because it being a crime thriller almost, as the movie goes on, you're discovering what's happening along with the cast, and there's a point where I'd even say after the climax of the film, there's 30 minutes where it's not a horror film at all anymore. Like, the movie wraps up and keeps going.
It drags. For sure.
There are a couple layers to the story, and the movie does kind of wrap up a lot of its loose ends. I'll say that I love that in a film. When it ends, I want it to feel complete. I don't want to have a desire for more. And I did feel that with this film. Like, this is the film Long Legs. and that's it. It was a great one-off film. I don't want another one. I don't want a sequel. I don't want a prequel. This was cool,
Yeah.
you know, and that's that. That's how I feel, right?
You could definitely see it being turned into a big merch line, sort of this popular aesthetic that people will love, and you
Yeah.
could see it having a lot of staying power on that. So there's definitely risk of that, and I would probably like it better as a standalone. But I get what you're saying, because like a common complaint I've seen online is that the investigation scenes are really what drag it down, and but the scenes with long legs and the whole supernatural, right, the horror end,
Yeah, yeah,
is really works. I mean, it's just it's incredible. That first scene, how they sort of build up, with the car pulling up to the house,
yes,
and the car's white, the snow's white, so the car just
yes.
blends in, and you focus on this kind of black, creepy figure
Yeah,
in the car, and just that tension building there is so perfect. And I wanted to say with Nicolas Cage, if we get into that
yeah,
here,
yeah, man.
he look, he's Nicolas Caging it up in this
Yeah.
movie. This movie's almost got a comedy angle to me, and definitely will have more on repeat viewings, just because look, they hide that it's Nicolas Cage pretty well, and he does a great job. Like, and it doesn't look like Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
But there's parts where he's going nuts, and mommy.
He's really,
yeah,
yeah, man. He
And-
likes to sing too.
yeah, and it
like,
can make me laugh.
Yeah.
Because it's just Nicolas Cage having a good time.
seeing what sticks, right?
But
you know,
his makeup design,
wow.
whoever did that,
Yeah.
the costume design, I think, is brilliant. It has like this uncanny look to it that just immediately makes you scared.
Yeah,
There's an old YouTube video. What's it called? Of like, it just reminds me. It's of mannequins like singing, in these robot voices, and
Okay.
it kind of reminds me of that. His face is like a mannequin's sort of face.
It's-
just this uncanny.
if I were to
face.
see someone that looked like that in public, I'd look twice. He's really creepy. You know, what I wanted to make the point of here is that Nicolas Cage can be one of those actors that often, like you said, Nicolas Caging it up, doing his thing, right? And I actually wanted to make the point. I don't think he Nicolas Cages it up here. I think this is one of the few films where I knew it was Nicolas Cage and he was acting, you know, as I expected him to, but he gave us something new. He didn't just give us another Nicolas Cage, like, you know, he just played Dracula, but it was Nicolas Cage's Dracula. You know, it's one of, like Adam Sandler. He plays the same character in almost every film. Now I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but he's moved on to do great things now. And I think we're gonna get the same work out of Nicolas Cage here. You know, this is a serious film, and I feel like he's departed from that. He started as that earlier, and I'm glad to see him back, man.
No, he did it. He did a incredible job, and you can see him being an iconic character. I mean, you can see going to Fan Expo probably this year, and
Yeah.
there'll be tons of
Yeah.
long leg stuff.
I'm surprised
Somehow.
how big this movie was.
Yeah, well, it built up the hype pretty well,
Yeah.
and that's why we should get into Neon, who should probably
Yeah.
who should be given kudos for probably the most impressive thing about this movie, even though I did enjoy this movie, is the marketing campaign.
Yeah.
The way they convinced everybody that it was going to be a lot scarier than it was, and
Is that a bad thing, though?
but also you gotta love this too, the amount of depth that went into it.
I know.
There's a number you can call that plays a creepy call recording of Longlegs. You can go on a website called the Birthday Party Murders, which it's a fan of Longlegs, and he's cataloging all the murders with all the photos on them and messages answering people's
Wow.
questions, and he signs off in a way of in a way that's used in the movie. I don't want to give away too much
Mhm.
of the website.
Yeah.
But then there's also these satanic symbols that you can click, and it downloads a creepy like PDF file, and you
Yeah.
open it up, and it's pages out of a satanic book that kind of explain
Damn.
lore behind the movie. I was trying all this stuff out
That's so
right
cool,
after I saw the
man.
movie.
And you
I love
feel
it.
you feel the effort and the love that comes from the team that put this film together, and It's just awesome. Another film that did something like that, similar, that I can directly relate to was the Batman with Robert
Yeah.
Pattinson, because that film had the Riddler as the villain. So their ad campaign, a lot of stunning artwork all over the world, but they also had these websites that you can go on and decode and figure out the ciphers and whatnot for these puzzles, and that just, it gets more people in seats. It gets more people excited. It's great stuff.
Yeah, it's incredible we can do that and just kind of adding to the lore. And look, I'd give Long Legs like a 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
It's a solid movie, but what I just love it for right now, it's the first movie I got really excited about, really enveloped in, and thought about for days after I saw it. Probably I haven't done that since Barbie and Oppenheimer, to
Really,
be
man.
honest. I mean, like we've been talking, and I kind of got disillusioned for a
Yeah.
bit there, and wasn't too into things. There's good stuff that's come out in between
Yeah.
that time, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying, for me, I was checking out a bit. But this got me pretty excited, and it was a solid movie.
It
It wasn't
was.
like
It
amazing.
was.
Yeah.
I had a great time watching it, and I didn't rush to the theater to see it. And you want to know why? Because every time I went to buy tickets for this movie, the theaters were packed, sold out, and I'm not doing that. I only deal with a full theater like that when I go to a premiere, like a superhero premiere, or whatever. I want to be in the crowd with all the other fans. But when I'm seeing like a serious film like this or something I'm gonna review for the channel, I don't necessarily want to be in a theater where there's potential of a ton of kids talking and whatnot and distracting me. So I waited until it calms down, and man, it was an awesome watch.
Yeah, it was good to see in a theater, and I think there's definitely an effort to have artistic merit with it. That's pretty cool. I know director Oz Perkins. He actually based it on his relationship with his father,
What?
which is interesting. And
Wow.
and for those who have seen the movie, uh, think of the detective's relationship to one character in particular. I don't want to give away too much, but you can, once you kind of understand that, you really get where that came from, and just to know that just adds another level of depth to the movie.
Yeah.
I also like the aesthetic of it too. I think the movie,
The movie was
the aspect
ominously.
ratios too.
The aspect ratios, dude.
Sorry to cut you off there, but I
No,
was saying that was
no,
cool.
because hearing you say that made me realize, like, that's what I was thinking, like, before I said it, because not only, like, the color grading of this film is just so, like, muted and ominous, but the aspect ratio um makes it so much more focused, like, and
And the shots are stunning. I love the shot of the car in the opening scene pulling up to the house. I
yeah.
think this looks amazing. A lot of the colors they use, especially in dark scenes, are incredible. And yeah, they mess with aspect ratios to kind of imply different eras in
Is that
time.
how they used it as well?
Yeah, so if you notice, a lot of stuff that happens in the 70s is in this sort of old aspect
Okay.
ratio,
And then
8
when it
millimeter
and then when it moves
to
forward
the 90s.
to the 90s, it widens.
Yeah, I believe it changes. Don't quote me on that. I've only seen the movie once, but I know they changed the aspect ratio,
Okay.
which is a cool thing to do, and I could see becoming sort of a trend. If this movie maintains its popularity, I could see people using that old 70s aspect ratio for things.
Yes.
And I love the glam rock use too. I mean, I love the band T Rex, and to see their music kind of used as central to the kind of story and part of Longleg's character. Seems to have some kind of affinity for glam rock, but but yeah, and they used to use T Rex from "You Got the Teeth of the Hydra Upon You," "You're Dirty Sweet and You're My Girl"
Yeah.
at the beginning of the movie. I just love seeing nods to great music that's
Great
been
music that
forgotten.
like fits the tone in such a weird way.
Yeah,
You being a music buff, I assume a lot of these songs have some weird, twisted, deeper meaning. When you really listen to some of the lyrics of these songs, that I bet kind of
yeah.
coincides with the tones of the film.
Well, and I feel like he picked T Rex because I don't know. Their music's not inherently super dark
Yeah.
or creepy, but it's like, but there's just something about it that's a bit off. That's a bit dark. It's a
Yeah.
very subtle kind of thing, as
And that's
opposed,
why it works.
which is almost more effective than just straight up evil.
Yeah.
You but again, just this movie, all everything surrounding this movie, Neon did a great job.
Let me tell you this though. It is not my favorite horror film of 2024.
No, that's fair.
And I was, it was almost there until I realized I saw Late Night with the Devil this year, and I don't know if you've seen that, but that was my favorite. And but this movie, it could be like agreed as equally as good. It just doesn't have as much character and identity as Late Night with the Devil does. That movie is exploding with it. So, both good movies. They're both unique from each other, though. Very different.
And this one's a bit flawed.
There are.
But I'm not gonna, we as people who talk about our opinions on a podcast, I gotta try sometimes. If I enjoy a movie, like I just accept that it's flawed, but I feel like in the past I might have just that might have turned me off a bit. Now I'm like, I'm just gonna watch this movie a few more times because I may grow to love it. There's movies I liked as a kid that aren't perfect,
Yeah.
but I liked them, and it's like you gotta have that kind of stuff.
Sometimes you grow to appreciate stuff over time.
Yeah.
More. Let things marinate. Just like the Star Wars prequels.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I love those movies, and so like Longlegs, despite its flaws, I could grow to love even more. And it'll be interesting to see if, and again, Neon doing an incredible job. It'll be interesting to see how this movie, Cuckoo, coming out soon, kind of relates to Longlegs. I'm not going to say too much, but it's kind of implied that they're related. But
I think you're right about that.
But I believe they said it's a passing kind of relation. But we'll see if anything you can find any more connections when that movie comes out. And I hope there's little connections because it's fun when studios do that. And to use an obvious example, Quentin Tarantino, all his movies have kind of these little references to other ones, and that'd be kind of cool to see with these two movies. And they're very similar. They have a very similar look, and are being marketed sort of the same. So they might give us the old bait and switch with this movie too, because
we'll see.
You could see it being a crime drama-y, for lack of a better term.
You know what I fear is, I was going to mention this earlier, but I forgot, and I'm glad I remembered. I hope we don't get another sequel or whatever, because I love these one-off films. They get the point across and leave a good taste in your mouth moving forward that I just saw a great film, and that's it. There's nothing else to it. But that wasn't the case with, I think it was 2022's best horror film, maybe. I think Evil Dead Rise came out in the same year, and I also like that film. But Smile is now getting a sequel, and we don't know if it's going to be great or not, but it's just, the producers and production companies saw, hey, this movie did great, let's make another. And everyone knows it. It's not just because creatively they want to continue the story. Financially it did well and they want to continue it. And I hope that doesn't happen with Longlegs. I hope they don't end up, sucking it for everything it has.
We'll see. I mean, look, it's a tough movie business.
Yeah.
Especially since we last recorded. Movies do well, but it's further apart than it used to be even 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And it's really been post-pandemic. And I think, look, if Longlegs ends up really instilling itself in pop culture, I think they're going to run with it because, studios these days, when they hit on something that's going to work, they got to make that money. All I would hope for is that Longlegs is the cash cow, brings in all this money for Neon, and we also, along with all those other Longlegs movies, get a bunch of cool
new
standalone
ideas.
movies as well.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like I expect them to do Longlegs again. I mean, we'll see. I wouldn't, nobody would be surprised. But hopefully, I try to think positively. Hopefully, it can lead to more
them,
original movies. But yeah, for now, it's good for them.
It's a good movie.
Yeah.
It wasn't my favorite of the year or anything, but I probably will buy this on Blu-ray. I liked it, and I'd like to have it in my collection. If you're the slightest bit interested, watch it when it comes to streaming. It'll probably be hard to find it in a theater now. This is just, we didn't rush into this episode. This is just what we wanted to talk about tonight. So
Yeah. So Longlegs, go check it out. It's got a really well thought out and fun marketing campaign. It's a good movie, and it's just something to kind of delve into and enjoy. And this has been The Return of the Slime. Thanks for checking us out. I'm Diego Pizarro.
joined by Benjamin Smith.
Thanks for listening.
We'll catch you next time.